Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles. Today's guest is Todd Lemense. He is an author of the best-selling book, Lose Your Ego and Gain the World. He is a huge social media presence with over 200,000 followers on Twitter. And he is a corporate trainer, motivational speaker, doing over 60 trainings a year. Now, that's a busy man. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome, and you should welcome too, my man, Todd.
Hey, Emmett, how are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm doing awesome, my man. 60 gigs a year, that's a lot of talking.
It is. That's why I got into this business. I love the sound of my own voice. I'm a shameless self-promoter.
That's what you must be in life. Find your passion, then shamelessly self-promote it, that thing that resonates with you. So how did you come to the ego? Because I'm going to just dive into this a little bit. Ego and man, particularly male man, go together hand in hand. So what made you say, I have to tackle this topic?
Well, I'll tell you why. In my early 20s and mid-20s, I had a lot of financial success. I opened a couple of small businesses. And then when I got into my early 30s, I started to have even more success. I planted a lot of seeds, and I was in the construction business in the Seattle area. And I started a company with just me and my ex-wife. And then after a few years, we had about 40 employees, and we were having a pretty sizable monthly income. And as I got more successful, my ego started to get the best of me. I started to eat more, drink more. I thought I was entitled. I thought that I was smarter than everybody else. And I started to take a lot of the people that I worked with and a lot of my own family members for granted. So my ego kind of destroyed me, got the best of me.
But that's you can attribute that to age as well, because when you first get any kind of success, if you're not used to it, your ego will abound and take over.
I think you're right. I grew up with not a lot of money. So, everyone says your parents teach. I think it's hard. When I see these people, athletes or musicians that go broke, I understand. I get it.
With your trainings, tell me a little bit about that. What is your year like? Your average year like between your book and you out speaking, and do you have courses as well?
A lot of it is promoting. I do a lot of radio shows. I do television shows also. So putting yourself out there. The 60 speeches aren't a lot of work. It's the getting the 60 speeches. I think a lot of times when people will see someone who's successful, they think, they put a web page up or they, they wrote a book and then all this work comes flooding in. And that's just not how it works. If you take a recording artist, let's say Beyonce, look how famous she is. When she brings out a new song or video, she still has to promote the heck out of it.
Yep.
And that's most of my day. The fun part, like I have a friend who's an MMA fighter, and he laughs. He says, the fighting's the fun part. I don't even get nervous. It's the training and the surgeries and that's the tough part.
So where are you located? What's your geographic home base?
I'm in the great Pacific Northwest of Portland, Oregon right now.
Oh, I'll be coming out there in about a month or so.
You gotta look me up.
Yeah, I will. You got that's a beautiful scenery. That is a place where you can be inspired to do great things because you're right at nature. And it's also a little bit different than the rest of the country. As you traveled around, have you seen where you've had to adjust your whole proposition so that it can be kind of downloaded for the people in different areas?
I have, and I kind of, that was a flaw I made for a while because I was really trying to cater my talks and my trainings to each specific company. And if I talk to you, Emmett, about a business that you've been in for years, you've been in the DJ business, if I talk to you, in about 2 minutes I don't know what I'm talking about, so I lose a lot of my credibility. So what I was trying to do was please everybody, and all I was doing was pissing everybody off. That's how you learn. I only learn when I hurt and make mistakes or lose money. When I win, I never learn anything. I only learn when I lose.
So I don't know how old you are, but Twitter is this communication device that kind of brings everybody together and keeps you relevant. Because when anything happens in the world, the first place I go to is Twitter, because people are going to let you know what's happening, when it happened, how long it happened. How did you make that your platform, your go-to platform?
The same as you. I kept seeing, on TV. I watch a lot of sports. I have an addiction to NFL football, and I see everyone with their Twitter handle or something. There must be a reason everyone's doing it. And I got on there, and I've gotten speaking gigs in Mexico and Pakistan off of Twitter, if you believe that. Just off of Twitter.
And from that, when you go to a gig where you're speaking, and is that the first place you direct them? Or do you say, hey, just follow me on Twitter? Or do you rely on Facebook a lot? Do you rely on Google Plus? Or what other social media platforms do you have at your disposal?
I need to be more active on it. I haven't even set up an Instagram. I do have a Facebook, but for personal things. But I stir everyone to Twitter because I'm on it so frequently. And I find it easy to message people back. I will always respond to anyone that reaches out to me. I have over 200,000 followers, and I probably get 20 messages a day, but I always make time to at least send a short message or visit with somebody. A lot of times there's people who, want mentoring for speaking, and I'm happy to help, or writing help. They send me articles for me to read and stuff, and I really enjoy it. I learn a lot out of it. You learn a lot by helping other people,
Yeah. Now, you're not a small guy. You look like you got some muscle behind you. If I met you in the alley, I might be a little leery. So what's your background, man?
Well, I used to be, younger in my career, I used to be a boxer. I boxed for many years. And now I'm way too heavy for that. But
you could be a super heavyweight.
For about 10 seconds. I'm 42 years old, and I've had too many concussions, let me tell you.
Did you play football as well?
I played every sport growing up.
So growing up, you grew up in the state in Portland, correct?
I grew up all over. My mom was a business person, and we moved a lot. So I got social skills. I got to change schools almost every year. So that I learned a lot from that.
So since your mom was a business person, and I'm going to probably go off course from my usual spiel that I had planned out for you, is since your mom was a business person, did that redirect your mentality to say, hey, I am going to craft my lifestyle. I am going to be a provider? Because one thing that I really admire when I see someone who owns a business, that is a person who is feeding people. That is a person who is educating people, however indirectly. Was that affected, brought on by your parents to say, this is the path I'm going to go?
I think so. I think I was raised in that, I guess you call that the millennial thing, even though before my time, I was one of those before, that my mom really instilled in me that I deserved a better life, because we struggled financially and we had a lot of hard times. We had ups and downs like everybody does. Successful people usually have more downs than they do ups. A lot of people don't know that. The people who are the most successful that I've studied, that I know personally, have failed the most.
Yeah.
And that's why they're always so humble, is because humility hurts, but we all need it. And I've learned a lot from my mom. I look up to my mom a lot. And it's funny, as you get older, you appreciate your parents more than you did when when you're younger, know-it-all and judging and think you could do a better job. You realize they did the best deal they could with such a bad kid,
You couldn't have been that bad. So with that, what brought you to the point where you said, hey, I have this knowledge and I want to share it with the world. I want to put it in a book form. Had you ever dabbled in or had any experience with writing a book personally?
Not at all. And I was a D student. I had to study to get C's. I didn't go to college, but I really wanted to tell my story, and so I had to do it. And it was hard at first, and then I realized that anybody can do it. I met a woman, and she's a very successful publisher. She says everyone has a book in them about something they've either accomplished or something they've survived. And when I talk to people, I always try to get that out of them. It's sometimes, you and I are extroverts, so we tell you if you ask us. But other people, you have to dig a little deeper. And you'd be amazed. Everyone's got a miracle in them about something that they've done or survived.
Yeah. So with your book, who has given you that impact moment, that moment that said, hey, I got your book, or I've watched you and you made a difference in my life?
The one that I got to tell you, this is what cracks me up, but I've never talked about this before, but it's Florence Henderson, Mrs. Brady.
I'm not laughing because we liked Mrs. Brady.
and I was bragging to everybody, and I said, and no one was impressed. I said, "Who is more famous than Mrs. Brady?" Everybody in the world knows who Mrs. Brady is.
Yeah, people even had crushes on her.
So, and she read it, and she gave me a good review, and that meant a lot to me.
So as far as your book, here's a thing that I thought that would be really beneficial in a crowd that's beneficial, which is young men up until about the age of like 30. You know, I remember being under the age of 30. I thought I was the sun, the moon, and the stars. And then I had daughters, and that changed the whole shebang. That let me know. I was like, wow. So, do you have any specific groups that you would mentor for particularly the younger generation, or is it strictly business?
It's definitely businesses, and it's all different. The thing I talk about most is eliminating negativity from the workplace. And it's funny, there's hospitals that have real, toxic, cancerous negativity problems. And there's steel mills. It kind of goes across the board. So it's not industry specific, but in the workplace now, one thing I talk about is if you show up in this country on time every day, you separate yourself from 97% of the employees. As sad as that is, it's true.
Yeah. That's crazy. And with the businesses, because I understand exactly what you're saying, because it's a grind. Many people feel that it's a grind because they're not living their truth. They're surviving, or they see it as surviving. So what particular messages can you say? And this is where the ego probably comes in, where you have to lose it and say, and look at the bright side of things, look at the positive things that you're doing while you're at an occupation, while you're dealing with a group of that nature. Do you have exercises for them? Do you have workshops?
I do, and that's a great point, Emmett. The thing that people don't realize is you're never going to get ahead just going to work every day. You can fool yourself and you can get comfortable, but successful people in anything do more. People who have great bodies exercise every day after work. They don't have to become personal trainers or go get a kinesiology degree from USC to be successful. They do it after work. The people who get ahead at work are the people that take classes after work. So you have to not underestimate what it takes to be successful. You're going to be tired. It's going to be hard. And the nice thing is you're going to have to grit it out. And if you do more than everyone else, well, guess what? You're going to have more than everyone else.
Very good point. Good point. Now I'm going to ask you, who's your football team?
The New England Patriots.
Wait a minute. You're on that doesn't make sense. You got to explain that to me.
I grew up, my formative sports years were in Portland, Maine. So I grew up as a Red Sox, Celtics, and I'm 42 years old. So I had a lot of bad times with them. So I have to tell people that, or they think you're a bandwagon fan, right?
Yeah, that's true. So
I have a Tom Brady number 12 jersey that is by far my most prized possession.
I bet you have it framed too. I knew it. But getting back to your book, where can people obtain the book? And is it in multiple formats?
It's exclusively on Amazon. And if you reach out to me on Twitter, I'll send you a free copy for your listeners.
Okay. And what are you doing for the next 12 months? What is your prospectus for the next 12 months?
That's a great question. This is what we call this is New Year's resolutions, right, Evan? We got that.
Yeah, I'm trying not to date the podcast so it can be eternal, forever. Oh. So it can always be the next 12 months forever. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set a pace. I started out with a pace of doing, the 60. Right now I'm on pace to do the 60 speaking engagements. But what I want to do is, and I'm on the radio 3 or 4 times a week. I want to be on the radio twice a day, and I want to do 40 promos a week, and I want to speak 100 times. That's my plan.
That's a goal. Now that is an attainable goal, because if you're almost there, you're 60% there.
Well, we talked about before, what you were talking to me about is you have to get dirty. You have to do your own push-ups. You have to get gritty. And that's what I'm going to have to do this year.
That's a good deal. Do you have another project in you? Do you have another book in you?
I do, and I saw on that you had someone on that stole my title. You were more than enough. I thought I had thought of that all myself.
Yeah, well, that's not necessarily true, because it could be, you just have to look at the words that you use, and it could say the same thing.
You're right, and this on July 5th, I'm taping a live speaking a live speech of mine, and so I'm going to promote the heck out of that, and I'm going to develop my YouTube channel. So that's another thing I'm working on.
Yeah, because you got a strong presence, and you should be on video, and I'm wondering why you're not more, because I see your YouTube videos that you have on your page. And for those of you who are listening and would like to go, spell out your website for them.
It's TODDLEMENSE author. And it's just, if you just Google my name, Todd Lemense, it'll pop up. Or Todd Speaker, I pop up first on Google almost every time.
And are you a part of any speakers bureaus?
I do. I have a couple in the Northwest and one in Orange County.
And I see that you were Toastmasters too, weren't you?
I did it for years. I used to compete. And my favorites, it's funny because I did Toastmasters, and once I finished 30th place, 30 out of 30, and I was proud of myself. Nobody understood. And I said, you don't know how good these people are. They're good.
Did you do table topics?
Yes, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I was one too.
What was your experience with that?
Oh, it was a great experience as far as speaking, because you don't know what you don't know. And for instance, there are some things that they told me which will slow down, because I come in with a ball of energy. I'm setting the room on fire. And they were like, whoa, calm down. You can't always go in with the same energy. A big thing that they told me, that I found out, was I shuffle my feet when I move. If you're speaking in front of a crowd and you're dragging your feet, that's annoying, or it's distracting. So there's little things that you can learn, not just speaking, but organizing the competitions, being a VP of, recruitment, and all these things. It's really an organizational thing that helped me to put into place A, B, and C, and D, not just speaking.
It's funny you said that, because for your listeners, Toastmasters, for you and me, what it is, it's a public speaking class, it's a communication class. And for extroverts like us, it's easy to get up and talk in front of people. But what's not easy for us is sometimes to listen. And this class will take introverts and teach them to be extroverts and be able to get up and talk. But people like us, it gets us to listen, which is, to me, even a bigger miracle, right?
Yeah, that was a good one that I had to participate in, because they made me do it. They said, today you're listen master.
Right.
And they gave me the little pieces of paper, and it also taught you about timing. So you have a sense of delivery, which means if you're speaking you have to give a summation, or basically an elevator speech, in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Get it done. And they say, and you don't know what the topic is, which is really relevant for your life. And here's where I see the biggest benefit from is people who are new to this country, because it is a really awesome method for them to understand the communications of the United States. And we just turned this into a Toastmasters show.
We've probably got more out of Toastmasters than we put in, so we owe it to them, right?
Yes. What about the National Speakers Association? Are you affiliated with the NSA?
I am, and I haven't read up. I need to do that. I haven't read up for this year yet.
I like how you said re-up.
Re-up. Pay your dues, right? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Pay them, or they take you down.
Yeah.
You'll be shunned, like all things, right?
Now,
it's a bottom line business. Every business is the bottom line business.
Every business is a bottom line business, particularly in a National Speakers Association. It is literally all about the bottom line. Now, how do you go about approaching your clientele? What value added do you bring to to the table. If I'm a business owner and, business owners are thinking about the bottom line, but they don't think about the emotional and the social aspect of their company like they used to. Because it used to be a very comprehensive thing to be worried about your employees, how they are mentally and kind of spiritually, including them in the family. So how do you approach them to those who may not be versed with that kind of method for their corporation?
Well, you're right. And a lot of times now with longer hours and benefits getting cut, pay getting cut, people don't see how important it is for your customers, your employees represent your company, and they represent how profitable you're going to be. The better people you have, the more money you're going to make, and that seems to be get kind of forgotten. And when people, have a negative or toxic attitude, it spills over, and it's bad for morale. Bad morale is bad for business. It's bad for productivity, and people they produce more when they're in a happier state.
And have you? Ooh, I'm getting an echo here. Have you talked to businesses and defined their ego?
You do, but you have to be kind of politically correct about it because you don't want to insult any. A lot of times the people that are asking for help aren't the ones that need it. A lot of times when I talk about my book, people will say, I know someone who needs that. Or if I talk about personal accountability or business accountability, I look at it, Emmett, like we all have different strengths. You're a father, and I look at it like grade school. What grade 1 through grade 12? Mm-hmm. I might be in the 8th grade in certain subjects, but I might be in the 2nd grade in other subjects.
Got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So even though if you're good at something, you should become the best at it. You should become a college grad at it because you're already good at that. So it's something that should become easy to you. You have an aptitude for it already.
So what are the communication aspects for people to reach you? So you got LinkedIn, you got Twitter, and you got Facebook. What are all those IDs so people can find you?
If you Google my name, just Todd Speaker or Todd Lemense, I'll pop up.
And do you use LinkedIn much? Because LinkedIn is a B2B or person to business or business to business platform. It's like a Facebook for business. Do you garner a lot of business or a lot of interaction from LinkedIn?
I haven't because I haven't worked it. And you're absolutely right. It's such a great resource. You get so comfortable doing things. And I wrote in my book a chapter, probably the best chapter of the book is Comfort That Kills. And you get so comfortable with things. To be successful, you have to get comfortable at being uncomfortable. Just like exercising. It's not comfortable when you're doing it. My friends who don't work out or don't exercise always say the hardest part of about working out is driving to the gym. And I'm like, that's a bunch of BS. That's not the hardest part. That's the easiest part. Right? That's the easy part.
No, but that's the one that gets me the most is just driving. Once I get there, I'm good. I'll put in all the work.
You're one of those too, huh?
Oh, I am desperately bad. I'll come down in my little man cave and just, swing a kettlebell 50 times. And be like, okay, I'm good. I didn't have to drive. So you've been all over the place. You've been Las Vegas, Tulsa, San Francisco, Dallas, Portland, Houston, San Jose. Are you getting international as well?
Just the Pakistan and the Mexico. That's it. But I've got a passport. I want to use it. So Australia, New Zealand is definitely some places I want to go.
Just make sure you take your melatonin so you go to sleep on the plane.
I can't sleep on planes. And be careful what you wish for, right? There's the NASCAR driver, Carl Edwards was saying, we're young and we want to be surrounded by beautiful women driving on a private jet to Las Vegas. Last week he was on a private jet with his daughters, his mother-in-law, and his sister-in-law. So be careful what you wish for.
I had that exact request, and it happened to me too.
You're surrounded by beautiful women now, though.
Oh, yeah. For my whole life, I've been surrounded by beautiful women. The only thing about it, they were going, Daddy, I need. Now, so we're in the holiday season. I'm not going to tell you what year it is because this is going to be an eternal thing, and you're going to inspire people consistently. They're going to look you up because that ego is something that we all have to keep in check, whether it's from you or Eckhart Tolle, because I read his book too. And that's what piqued my interest about you, is that when it's a different thing for a woman to say, talk about ego, but there's so few male authors and male speakers who are putting forth some knowledge that is so relevant and hard to talk about. And I just want to thank you for doing that, my man.
I appreciate you saying that. I feel like sometimes I find that a lot of successful people are very poor self-evaluators. When you're really successful in anything, you've done so much that a lot of times you're not sure what you did best. And I never like it. Anytime I'm talking to someone who's a business leader or very successful in anything, and they tell me the story of how tough they had it, I always stop them and I politely say, you got to tell me about the blessings and the breaks that you've had too, because we've all had them and we all get help from people. You can't do it alone, and no one's ever been successful by themselves. So you have to get both sides of the story, and hopefully that's encouraging to people that you're not in this alone, that there are people to help you.
And who is your support structure? Who are your go-to people in your life that when you're not sure, they've got your back?
You only want to. A lot of times we get advice when we go and we seek advice from people. We go to people because we already know what they're going to say. You ever do that? You ask somebody something because you know what they're going to say. You first need people around you that are honest, 100% honest, and that's very important. And of course, honesty, it hurts.
Yeah, it does.
So I have different people for different things, but I don't go get medical advice from my mechanic. So I only respect people when I ask you questions about, being a DJ, and I asked you earlier before we went on air about equipment that you use and stuff, because you're an expert in it. You got your 10,000 hours.
I literally do. I haven't heard that term in a while. That's a good one. Can you explain the 10,000 hours for those who may not be versed with it?
Absolutely. And this is a good rule for you business people out there who are dealing with people who don't have as much experience from you. And you just get real frustrated. But when you've done something for 10,000 hours, you become an undisputable expert on it. And if you can kind of imagine like a pyramid of information. So you've dealt with so many problems, and when you do 10,000 hours, you've seen and you've worked through problem solves all these years. So when something pops up, you already know involuntarily, like breathing, how to handle it. And it's like when your boss asks you a question. Your boss already knows the answer. They just want to see how you're going to answer it. You're not filling them in on something because they have their 10,000 hours. So if you want to be great at anything, if you want to be the best in anything, you get your 10,000 hours. Not only will you be an expert, but you also make a good living at it. You could be the best scrapbooker in the world, and you're going to be rich, I promise.
That's absolutely true. Thank God to Pinterest, right? All right, my man. We're at that half an hour mark where I like to wind things down because of the attention span of the American public and people like myself. And I got to take the missus out and do some things with her. So what is your number one thing that you would, if you went back to your 20-year-old self and you said, yo, TL, I got some words for you, my man. What would you impart upon him?
These are the good old days. Enjoy every second of it. I think we only have so many heartbeats. So enjoy them. Europe's different at 80 than it is at 28. Right? Who wants to go to Europe when you're 80? Do it today.
Yeah.
It's a whole different effect, I promise.
Yeah, because you'll get out of jail a lot quicker. Well, Todd, it's been awesome. But first, I have to leave my audience with this little thing. Every day you wake up, the first thing you should do after realizing that you're awake is say thank you. And it doesn't have to be something like just thank you. It can be simply looking at the four walls that are surrounding you that are keeping you warm. Just say thank you. It could be the cover that's over you. Say thank you. Like me, it's my family, the sound of them breathing. I say thank you. And then I go into the bathroom and I look in the mirror, and the same thing that I advise you to do is look in the mirror and look in those eyes and realize that you're a miracle. And in that miracle, you were given life, and you were given specific experiences that are uniquely yours because you are a miracle. Live that life. Live that thing that speaks to your heart, and know that you're a miracle, and know that you are loved. And with that, Todd, I'd like to say thank you for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast, and I hope you have all the joy and beautiful things coming to you.
Thanks, Emmett. God bless. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And we're out. Deuces.